Okay, so you guys are gonna have to excuse this mess. We haven't had a chance to convert it into the gardens. We're just letting the ducks kind of finish killing all the grass off. You can see how it looks all muddy and crazy. When there's mud or dirt like this, I mean, this pool was changed less than an hour ago, rinsed out, and they just get in the mud, all tracking it in. It's ridiculous how muddy it gets, but this will be a garden soon. But I kind of wanted to show this is one of my dill plants, and it's an F2. So it smells like dill, it sort of tastes like dill. It has a really bland taste compared to the parent plant it came from. So I wasn't really impressed with that, but I am impressed by the size of that stalk and those roots. This plant is less than 3 months old. You may have seen it in some of my videos when I kind of record. It popped up on its own where the first dill plant was, right there in the blackberry bed. And man, it's pretty. I mean, it's like this big around. It's a good size of I'd say like one of those big 50-cent pieces. It's pretty massive, and the root system is incredible on it. It took me a lot of effort to pull it out. I really want to try and see maybe in the front garden bed where it stays a little bit more dry and drains a lot better. I have a lot of Mediterranean style herbs that grow there, like my rosemary, that can really do well with slightly drier soil and without being watered as much. And I think something like this would be really cool to let it grow up there. It has this monster root system, and I'm thinking that it would probably be able to reach down into the clay no problem. And if I thought it was hard pulling it out of that bed that has really good compost, it's going to be 10 times harder pulling it out of clay soil. And I don't know, I think I might do that. It'd be a pretty cool way to get some dill. Definitely gonna have to use some F1 dill, or this is F1, what am I talking about? Definitely gonna have to use some fresh dill seeds, because I have not had really good luck with the dill volunteer plants, or even collecting the seeds and trying to grow it out. I always seem to get some pretty bland dill plants. I might have to do some research. I'm not really sure what that's about. I'm not big on growing dill. I like dill, but I don't really pickle anything lately, so I don't have a lot of use for it. I saved the dill seeds. They seem to pack a lot more punch and flavor than the plant itself, and maybe that's it. Maybe because I don't eat the flowers and I save the seeds, always save the seeds from the plant, that I'm just not used to eating the dill fern itself. Or I don't know. I could definitely just say, like, this one doesn't taste very good. So while I'm over here, I kind of want to update on the ducks. You can see the ones that are very obviously my Welsh Harlequin ducks. You can see the 4 girls right there, and then my male here. This one up front, well, these 2 up front really. One has a kind of a mallard colored and is kind of gray. He's half Welsh Harlequin, half mallard, and so is that black one walking away. That is another half Welsh Harlequin, half mallard drake, and he actually has green coming in on his head. You can't see because he's so incredibly far away. He actually has green coming in on his head, and then there's another one that almost looks like a Muscovy to me, or Muscovy, some people say Muscovy, without the face mask on it. And that's also supposed to come from the same cross, a mallard drake with a Welsh Harlequin hen. I got these birds kind of thrown in for free whenever I bought the other Welsh Harlequins, because they knew they had seen another drake in there that wasn't from them, just kind of flew in out of nowhere and bred with their Welsh Harlequin hens. So they're kind of freebies. I thought I'd grow them out, see what we have. They're definitely not something I'm going to keep around. I've said it a few times that I plan on butchering them in the long run and putting them in the freezer, because they just don't align with the needs I have for my homestead or my family. They're not as productive. They are large growing, but I think ultimately I'm going to probably continue butchering the extra Welsh Harlequin drakes that I don't need for meat, but also add some Pekin ducks. Those are the white ducks with the yellow beaks, and they're really good meat ducks. Some call pekin, I call them Pekin. And that's really what I'm leaning more to, because it's a larger meat bird and they're easy to grow, so I don't have to worry about the intensive care and health issues that meat chickens have, but that'll give me something to kind of grow for meat, and I really like that idea. Ducks are so easy to grow and to raise, and having something that could grow and be raised to nine weeks of age and then butchered and not have to deal with raising it for 16 weeks plus up to 6 months to get a good meat duck would be a lot more beneficial. Now, these are beneficial just because they're available, they're there, you know, we already have males hatching when we are trying to get more hens to lay eggs, so plus we're gonna have, you know, females that are not up to the standards that we need them to be, and so that'll always give us extra meat, but it's just not efficient in the long run. I've shown what it looks like whenever chasing that poor female hen around trying to breed. I've kind of shown what it looks like when you butcher a duck compared to a meat chicken, and so you get a comparison. But keep in mind, that's a 6-month-old to a 1-year-old drake. We're not talking about these even younger ducks that are less than 6 months old. That makes a considerable difference, and it's just not as convenient. There's such a large amount of feed that goes into raising ducks, even though these guys, a couple months ago, if you look back at videos, there was a ridiculous amount of grass in here. When I mowed the yard, I threw the clippings in here. They get the leftover vegetables, grains. Today, my son gave them an entire pot of garbanzo beans that had been soaked. So when you think about all the extras that they're getting, to be using that much feed, it's just not worth it for me at all. Have you seen my ducks running around acting crazy? That's what ducks do. They chase each other to breed. It's not very beautiful. The females do not love it, you know. That's why it's so important to kind of get rid of all your extra drakes, because if you have so many males that are insistent on breeding like that one is, then it can end up being pretty dangerous for your girls in the long run. It's definitely something to consider. I'm about to have to go break this up because he is relentless with this one specific hen that's actually causing a lot of issues. So I'm going to go take him and put him up because he's now definitely in trouble. So my mom moved a couple weeks ago and she wasn't able to take this guy with her. And he has been living there. He was originally lived at my uncle's house, and he has been living at my mom's house for about 9 years now. And so, of course, I jumped at the opportunity to let him come over here and hang out with us for a while. And honestly, this seems like it's going to be pretty permanent. Old man, huh? His name is Mr. Wiggles, but he's pretty old. He's a sweet boy. He's supposed to be 17 or 18, but I'm telling you, for a dog that old, he's in incredible shape. So I know that he's at least 9 or 10, but he still gets around pretty good. He has a little bit of arthritis in his back legs, so he definitely has a hard time getting on and off furniture and going upstairs. So we kind of help him out whenever we get the chance. But he's my new shadow. He throws a fit if I leave him inside the house and come out here to the garden. I think it's good for him to have some fresh air. Kind of gives me a little garden companion. Here are a lot of these beans that popped up that I planted, and some of them are just ridiculously sized already. I think these are the golden wax beans, yellow wax beans, something like that. Yellow, golden. Can you tell that I've just bought so many beans I don't even know what's going on anymore? Oh no, I broke my squash roots. That's okay. I have this tendency to bury my squash, like dig down, and when that root's really showing, push it underneath the soil and bury it, and that causes more roots to form. You can see just how dry the soil is. This is a little wet, but is definitely gonna have to get watered. And that allows, if we have a bad squash bug problem, so if something happens, all of that forms roots, and I can cut the back end off, and where the roots have formed further up, the plant will be fine. It'll continue growing. Also, I made a video a couple weeks ago. A bad storm came through, and it ripped out like a 2.5 foot long bush squash, some kind of zucchini or hybrid squash. It may have been a crooknet, I don't really remember. It just ripped it completely out. All it was left is the very back end of the roots. And so I've really been like, let's bury them, let them get as many roots down as possible, because it's that time of year. This is hurricane season for us, which means we also have a ridiculous amount of tropical storms. Like, it's not kind to squash when strong winds come in with a substantial amount of rain. So these are more of those wax beans, and this is, I thought it was that arrowhead lettuce that I had planted. I had pulled most of it up, but this popped back up, so I thought that was that. But then now I'm wondering if it's maybe some of those chards, because we planted some giant chard plants by seed a couple weeks ago, and so I'm wondering if maybe that's some of them starting to pop up in places. You can see, actually this is little grass, so I think this is one right here popping up, but a lot of beans. Here's one that popped up. No, that's a squash that, I don't even know what that's doing in there. So this kind of shows you how easy it is to pull out some of these weeds that pop up in the bed. I mean, just grab it and boop, no big deal. Makes it a lot easier. Actually, here's one of those right there. Little Swiss chards popping up. And I think this is another one right there. Then more just grass. I actually came out here and picked a lot of this out earlier. It didn't take long at all. This is a cucumber, and so are these. There are some cucumbers in here. And there's one back there. It does have some yellowing on it, so it's definitely missing some kind of nutrients. Now this is where that giant dill came from. You can see you can see where it disturbs so much. That's a huge area for roots, and there's still some roots. It's pretty insane. I guess if you want to grow some dill in your garden bed during off season and then pull it out, it would kind of turn the soil for you. But this is a pretty large space, good 2 feet across and 2 feet wide. This is a 2 foot. This half from the fence this way is 2 feet, and 2 feet on the other side. So this is over 2 feet by 2 feet. And so it really loosens up a lot of soil. I think this would be a really good place to come in and plant some lettuce and maybe even some root crops. You can see it's part of the lettuce mix that I planted in early spring, about February or March, is still down there struggling. I thought I pulled it all out. And now I'm looking at it. This is definitely, that's that lettuce I was talking about. That's definitely what's down there, that smaller plant. I'm out of breath. Can you tell? Pulling all that up and trying to clean up after the ducks. Now out here shooting this video can be exhausting. This is pretty exciting because it's my first fall blackberry. This is my 7-year-old's plant, and he is loving being able to grow and pick these. So this is really cool. I'm really excited for that. And there's actually more flowers over here kind of blossoming. I don't know if I can get it really. There we go. Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So at least have 2 blackberries. If nothing else, it'll be something to kind of get my son out here, make him excited to be out in the garden. Now this little devil here is poison ivy, and man, it just comes everywhere. I cannot seem to get away from it. It pops up all the time. I just have to go, because it produces runners under the ground. I just have to go through and pull it out with gloves or something, whatever I have. I just need to protect my hand, because even if I don't break out in a rash from the urushiol, as the chemical that causes the rash on your body, it can be really sticky. It can stick to your garden tools, to your clothing. and even your skin. And then when you touch someone or something else, that stickiness gets stuck to them, and that's kind of where people get that idea that you can just pass poison ivy off from one to another, but really it kind of shows up, the oil stick to everything, and then it's not good. And then it has a delayed reaction, so it can be a good while before it shows up on yours or someone else's skin, which is really scary. My son had it pretty bad earlier this year, and he actually had to go get some shots because it got around his eyes and mouth. It was not pretty. So I try to be careful about it. Here's one of my squash plants. It's not looking lovely, but it's alive, which I'm impressed by. I have come out here and seen adult squash bugs all over this plant. I have smashed squash bugs. I have done everything I can to get rid of them. Physically, done everything I can. I'm not big on spraying, so I'm not going to do that, but they're just bad. I thought they were bad last year. They're bad this year. I mean, it's almost mid-September, and I'm still seeing squash bugs, adults, flying around everywhere out here. So if we don't get a pretty good freeze, they're just going to completely overwhelm us next season. I might have to really avoid squash and everything of that nature. Oh man, it's just not worth it sometimes. Especially as cheap as summer squash is at the store. It's just easier to buy it. I know that's not the point of growing your own food, isn't just to save money, but sometimes you kind of have to pick your battles, especially when you're like us and you have a small area for gardening right now. Now, I have a pretty good sized lot, but I don't have a lot of area dedicated to gardening. I'm still kind of setting up and getting more spaces. That takes time and money, and it's slow but steady. So that's the cool thing about making all these videos, is I can kind of go back and see, oh wow, we've actually grown a whole lot on the days I'm feeling discouraged. Look at this. This is my Tabasco plant. Yeah, look at this. I'm letting this one turn. I want to see exactly what all colors it turns. I think next is purple, and so that's pretty cool. But look how many, I mean, that's quite a bit of fruit forming, and it's, like I said, it's September already, and all these fruits are just, they're everywhere. And this is one of my plants that I just left alone because it really stunted during the dry season this year, and man, is it coming back like nothing I've ever seen before. Now these plants get up to 3 foot tall and 3 foot wide, so just imagine the amount of fruit that it would be producing if it was a larger plant. So hopefully I can get this kind of either protected over the winter so it produces early next spring, or really start my plants early in the spring, give them a head start so they can really produce a great amount of fruit. I'm really impressed. Joke's on me though, because one day I thought that I was going to try the Tabasco pepper, and I picked up the plant and I took a bite out of it. I'm not sure what I was thinking. That's probably one of the craziest garden mistakes I've ever made in my entire life. Oh man. So that's about it for today. There are just a couple of things that I kind of wanted to document and go over and remind myself of, and I thought I'd share the journey with you guys. So I hope you all have a lovely evening.